Okay. Hello, everyone. I wanted to first of all say that the phone has low battery, so this might suddenly cut off at some point. So if that happens, hopefully the talk is somehow saved by YouTube. And anyways, so this is a late night lecture on the advancement of the human race. Now let us say that we were in a situation that we had to solve this problem. Imagine just like an exam, the person has to solve the problem's there. So the problem is, what is like true advancement, and how can humanity advance like that? There has to come systems where collective initiative is greater in value than singular initiative. The world has to learn to love itself again. The depth of our eyes, beyond the sunrise after our demise. The advancement of the human species is the advancement of the universe upon itself. The human ego is a source of great humor because an individual thinks that they can claim a world. The world cannot be even, truly seen to be even held. It's like the person's like, I got all the power, and then they're like, okay, what is power though? And there was no answer. People don't realize it, but we need many forces in life to move us, not just us to be moved. For us to just move. So, what can be said? Okay. What is the human race? The initial, like one of the early answers we were given is that it's survival. Or like, what is survival? It's adaptation. What is adaptation? Discovering the way through in whatever scenario we are. Let us imagine we were a type of being that no problem was left unsolved in our presence. Let us imagine we were a being that we were honored by the future generations. the idea of an advanced civilization holds some sort of humanized sacredness. It is we humans that will roar like a lion in the cosmos. My strategy is to lionize the species, to say that let me tell you a story. This king of lions was walking past this fence. This fence was part of a farm. So the edge of this Lion King's kingdom was a farm. In that farm, there were many sheep just huddled together. Suddenly, this king of lions looks and sees something strange. In the middle of this sheep, this grown-ass lion is standing. Due to the honor that the Lion King holds, the king of lions walks up to the fence and shouts, "Lion!" And there is no response. He shouts, "Sheep!" And suddenly they all panic. And somehow, the angle of the story shifts to the lion who's inside the stable, inside the fenced area, like in the center of the sheep. That lion was raised with the sheep. The sheep are like family to it. And growing up, all the other sheep were like, "Yo, man, why don't you eat grass?" And the lion was like, "I'm not hungry." And that moment suddenly came, where all the sheep ran away, but the Lion King had not the Lion King, the sheep lion had no fear. The lion of the sheep had no fear. The king of lions realizes that this lion believes it's a sheep, that it has been conditioned it's a sheep, that it feels it's there's a sheep in a lion's body. That's what the Lion King thinks, right? It's like raised by sheep, you are sheep. So, but let me say it this way, psychologically. So this king of lions shouts out, says, "Weird sheep among the rest, come forth. This is your destiny," something like that. And this lion goes forth, and all the sheep, the fatherly sheep figure, goes to the sheep lion, and says to the sheep lion, "Son, I don't know what to tell you, you're not a sheep, go figure this out." And the sheep lion goes forth. And the king of lions says, "Follow me," and takes the sheep lion. First commands the lion to jump from the fence, which is something beyond its belief, but it does it. And so he takes the sheep lion to a pond. And the king of lions says, "Look in the pond, look at my reflection, what do you see?" And the sheep lion said, in some sense, "I see a king, I see a lion." And then the king of lions said, "Look at your own reflection, what do you see?" And he looked at his own reflection and he saw, that he wasn't a sheep, he was a lion. Imagine, you suddenly realize this whole time you were a lion. Fascinating. They're like, what did Mr. Within talk about? He just told the whole species to lionize itself. towards the advancement of civilization. A human species capable of directing reality while being an actor in it. The true vision is that it's the greatest problem to solve and it's the greatest idea. That means we think about ideas of extinction. Everybody can imagine that. Good job, guys. We imagined how things can break. Now let's see and try to imagine how things can be built. For me, the advancement of civilization has to, center around or orbit its greatest ideas. Greatest ideas come from the minds of people. So there could be a situation on Earth where global leadership's like, whoa, this is a completely different ballgame. It's not that we're just like making the lives of working class human beings. We actually have to consider that it's a psychological organism, that there's an objective world, a subjective world, and there's various things even beyond linearized consideration, yet they're actually activated in people's lives. Not all human beings are in the same world when they live. What does this mean? This is the difference between what Mr. Within calls the inner realms and the outer realms. See, this old lecture is coming from my inner realms. You are, to me, my outer realms. So, behind my eyes, my mind provides me with an ability to live ahead. In front of my eyes, I see 2024. Behind my eyes, I have wondered how far the species can go. What is the capability of the human race? What is the true power of an organism? We see so many fictional shows in our media where the hero surpasses its limits. In some famous shows, there's even dual archetypes. There's like a main character and then there's a rival. And so it's like that rival ends up becoming a friend, but on some level it's a friendship based on the advancement of power. Right, but what is power? And I don't want to like kind of break this down because it can like from one angle it could be everything requires power, but then from another angle it's like, we don't need that kind of power. So there's various ways to speak about power, but for me, because I'm a human being, because I feel my voice might outlast my physical existence, I find myself responsible to communicate to the future generations what this feels like the only way I can. So what would the implication of trying to get a species to build an advanced civilization? Pretty much I'm trying to build up to this idea in every episode, really, how to build an advanced civilization. I've thought about this idea so much that it's like it is. I should say I don't want to say it has consumed me, but the idea has taken me to itself. Behind my eyes, I have fathomed ways that an advanced civilization would function, that how a human being would feel in that space would be completely different than now. There's psychological spaces in our minds that are not activated because society hasn't updated to consider that the most advanced individual should be the level of the opportunity. for the whole. So what I'm trying to say is that right now you have to realize from one angle, this is the external view, there's 8 billion human beings on a rock in the middle of nowhere. They're all living in their own houses thinking like, yo, we got this, everybody living their own lives peacefully, great. But we don't realize this is only until there is a stability. So right now the human species is in a state where the backup systems are coming. That means it's like it's failing without realizing it's failing. Right? The species is failing, its moral character is failing. The fact that what's happening in Palestine and the whole planet's like kind of paralyzed, not knowing what to do. You know, it's like the cruelty that's even happening at all. It's just all of this is just, it's like the bizarrity of a simulated desire of a savagery that thinks that the outcome has to be savage. Let me tell you, the idea of humanity, when you even look at it from a religious context, is that you are being tested, right? So we're being tested by all the forces we're experiencing. You know, it's not just people testing us. Everything in life can be perceived to be a point of resistance, or it can be seen as a point of flow. Let me explain what I mean here. So right now, physical movement, like I can move my hands and all of this, but when I close my eyes, I have access to a space, my inner space. Within my inner space, I can fathom that the emotion one will have in an advanced civilization would be equivalent to feeling such honor that the individual is actually blissed out. What that means is there needs to be a technology for people's eyes, because in an advanced civilization there is so much grace, efficiency, and just it's strange. It's like it's the closest perfection of an organized movement. You see, it's all really. Let me tell you what it is. It's like everything is you know what it is? It's like all the particles and manifestation freaked out and they all started running and they bumping into each other. Yeah. Life is incredible. The commands of our attention, the ability to move. What moves at all? What is movement? What is our eyes? Where do our eyes go? What can they lead? What can they connect to? What is the purpose? Why were the eyes the window of the soul? And if they are, what's looking through our eyes? Could be a mystery beyond the fathomings of the mind, or the, let's say, pictures of the body. To be honest, it's like when you look at it psychologically, question mark, it's a mystery. We say we have a mind, but can anybody touch their mind and show off their mind? And the mind is not just something, it's not something like that. It's more like it's a movement. It's like we've opened our eyes in the middle of an activity. And so it's like quickly adapt and then engage. And if you're wise, you pick up a role and you quickly go and serve the civilization. You know, it was like this sentence, really, like the only way to live for life is to live for life. That means you're living for the living. You're living for that which is alive. Because what is the greatest value? The greatest value is not money. Why? Because people are getting money to do something with it. The greatest value seems to me that just as a being, just forgetting all archetypes and all that, just being like, okay, I'm an energetic being. This energy requires to be used. And let me explain what I mean by this. The poet Rumi had this quote where he said, before death takes away all that is given, give away all there is to give. That means be so free that you can give everything, that regardless of what happens, there's a freedom of being. That's what's key. Because without a freedom of being, like, think of it this way. Imagine there's 8 billion of us, right? So imagine there's like 8 billion geniuses. We're all geniuses. But the circumstances of civilization, the way the world is happening for us, is not activating that. In an advanced civilization, imagine like children are like, yo, advanced parents, And the parents are like, "Yeah, what's up, advanced child?" You know, and the advanced child, let's say advanced civilization, asks its advanced parents, you know, what's the purpose of life? Like, what's the point? What am I like? What should people do when they grow up or something like that? Imagine the parents are like, kids, regardless of our archetypes, that which is bigger than us is not the legacy of the individual. It is the legacy of the species. When you feel that's some, you get it. You become a different being. When you suddenly feel it's as if what's going to happen to my species. Do you understand? The ego is going global. It's like, wait a minute. Is it true that a global narcissist has to technically be compassionate to everybody? Do you know? It's like, who knew the cure to narcissism was globalism? To become a guardian of the human race. To become a guardian of the destiny of all the human beings that are alive, that include the human force. You know, I'm kind of like standing here like a silent soldier of the human race, but at the same time, you know, I think about if there was a general, if there came like a next level commanding officer, you know, a human being that had such a presence that everybody was like, whoa, they were organizing around that being. If such a being came, the test has to be how far that being sees. And this has to include a 360 view. I think the strategy would be human beings are not just savage entities. They're not like beasts to like release, but they are on some level. Human beings are organisms, are pretty much kind of like objects that became subjects to themselves, and then they had an access to maneuvering and navigating the subjective realities. So what this means is we're an intelligent objectivity, but because we're intelligent, we're not just an object. It's like, what's the proof that I'm not an object, right? So the proof is like, yo, objects are not intelligent. So if we're intelligent, if there is intelligence, and that's an awareness of space, an object is not aware of space, it's in space. So awareness is not objective, pretty much. That's what I'm getting to, what I'm getting to. What kind of world am I in? What kind of world are we all in? And where does it end? And you know how trippy the idea of life being a simulation is? Because there could be many simulations. Imagine we're in Earth simulation 7,000, I don't know, 47 or something. The idea would be, in some sense, to come up with such a great story that the human spirit is, in some sense, honored by the effort, right? So in an advanced civilization, everyone is living for the advancement of humanity. Pretty much what it means is that the greatness, it feels like everything that everyone does is considered value in consideration to how valuable it is to the advancement of the human race. What I mean by this is that from the meaninglessness, from meaningless entertainment, we go to meaningful reality. What is real is our attention and how it's instantaneously present. So the presence of our attention, this presence, to feel your own presence, to realize that you're being a being right now, to notice that you're breathing, to notice that there's a sense of responsibility of your consciousness to the world. You know, it didn't just take you 4.5 billion years, just so you can notice, oh my God, I'm suffering and I'm gonna die. It's like, no, that wasn't the point of consciousness. The point of consciousness was like, hey, you have access to a landscape, gigantic landscape of endless information. How do you choose to organize it? Because the test of man is the test of his decision. A decision is, in some sense, an archetypal self that has been pre-constructed, shifting reality and creating a new version of the self. So what I mean by this is that our attention renders our natures, how our being is, the nature of our being has to do with attention, what the levels of attention. There's an attention with your eyes, and then there's an attention where you care about something so truly, you want to understand it. By the nature of that understanding, you're just, it's like forget authenticity when you want to discover, because it's automatic. Authenticity is just there because the novelty cannot be like nobody can lie to novelty. Why? Because novelty is of a different world. So then what comes from the future, like if the future could come to the past, we can't be like, yeah man, I totally understand where you come from. That can't be said. It's like, I remember that time where I said, I don't know, I said, imagine, like I said, that time where I told the time traveler, it's like, I know where you come from, man. And the time traveler says, how? And imagine I say, because time is a circle. The end of the future is the beginning of time. Because conceptual mind can go so far into its fathoming and then it just resets. So the ability to not reset it, like, how do I say it? In wondering about what your most advanced self would be, you would automatically see you require to know the most advanced world. So you need to have the most advanced world to know the most advanced self you can be. There's no point in being an advanced self in a world where nobody's advanced in, right? So the idea has to be, if the world is completely advanced, then I can know what kind of self I can be in that world, and then that would be an advanced self. You see, the future is what was restricted to people. I feel like someone bringing water to people's minds, but instead of water, it's the idea that it's like the past is past, no freedom there. The present is, let's say, filtered by subjective, let's say, culture and whatnot, subjectivity of culture and society. And then we have the future. The future is incredible because when you talk about the future, you're talking about probabilities. Probabilities cannot be judged because they're just probabilities. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I think the phone's low enough. So this is tonight's episode. Thank you.